Across the endless stars, the Galactic Council gathered in its shining city of glass and light. Hundreds of alien species filled the hall, their voices mixing like thunder and wind. In the center, under the great crystal dome, stood Earth's delegation. Quiet and still, the humans had come far, but compared to the ancient races of the galaxy, they were still seen as children, and children were to be mocked, not feared. A tall reptilian warlord from the Zarn Dominion laughed loudly, his scales glowing under the lights. "Humans," he said. "You send ships slower than our cargo haulers, you hide behind your moon, and call yourselves a power." The hall erupted in laughter. Wings flapped, tails shook, metal limbs clanged against the floor. Earth's ambassador, a calm woman named Elena Ross, stood firm, her face unreadable. She only replied, "We came here for peace." "Not pride." The laughter grew even louder. Peace was weakness in the eyes of the galaxy. On the outer edges of the hall, a small alien, gray-skinned and old, watched quietly. His name was Kareth, a historian who had seen empires rise and fall. He leaned toward the Zarn warlord and whispered, "Do not provoke a world that has survived itself." But the warlord only smirked. Survived itself? Then it should have no strength left to fight anyone else. Kareth sighed, knowing pride would blind them all. Outside, the human ambassador's escort, Captain Leon Hart, stood with his team near their small ship. They could hear the laughter echoing from the council chamber, even through the glass walls. One of the soldiers clenched his fists. "They think we're weak." "Sir," Leon's eyes narrowed, "let them think so. That's the best camouflage we have." He looked up at the alien fleets parked above the capital world, each ship glowing like a star, and he whispered to himself, "They have no idea what waits beneath our oceans, far away." Back on Earth, deep under the Pacific Ocean, a facility known only as Black Ridge thrummed with quiet energy. Scientists and engineers worked day and night. Surrounded by pressure domes and silent drones, they were not building ships, at least not ordinary ones. They were building something alive, something that could think, adapt, and destroy. It was called Project Genesis. Dr. Aisha Reed, the lead scientist, stood before a massive glass wall beyond which floated a dark shape. Its hull pulsed with blue veins of light. Its surface seemed to breathe like skin. She spoke into her recorder. "Prototype Leviathan 1 nearing activation." The voice in her earpiece replied, "Command wants silence. No broadcast beyond Earth." She nodded. "Understood." Let them laugh a little longer. Back in the galactic capital, the council session dragged on. Each empire took turns boasting of its fleets, its weapons, its conquests. When Earth's turn came, Ambassador Ross only presented a simple hologram. It showed blue oceans, green lands, and a single line of text. "We remember everything." The aliens sneered. "Memories do not win wars," one shouted. Ross smiled slightly. "Sometimes they end them." The room went silent for a moment, then erupted again in mockery. But among the laughter, a few leaders exchanged uneasy glances. They remembered how humans had fought even when cornered, even when outnumbered after the session. Ross returned to her ship, where Captain Leon waited. "Rough day?" he asked. "They laughed," she said softly. "And that's good." Leon frowned. "Good?" She nodded. "Every empire that laughs at us underestimates us, and every one of them will regret it." As their small ship lifted off the alien world, the stars shimmered across the viewport. Leon whispered, "When do we show them?" Ross looked at him, her eyes calm but cold. "When they cross the line." Not before. In the deep silence of space, news channels replayed the council session. Clips of aliens laughing at humanity spread across the galactic net. Comments flooded the streams, mocking, taunting, joking. "Primitive Earth," one caption read, "still using chemical rockets." But on the dark side of the moon, human satellites quietly shifted into a new pattern, forming a net of invisible eyes. Every transmission, every movement, every ship leaving the galactic core was recorded. Earth was listening, watching, waiting. Kareth, the old historian, wrote in his private journal that night, "Every age mocks the next until it kneels before it." He closed the book and looked out the window at the distant blue speck called Earth. "I fear," he whispered, "that the galaxy has forgotten what fear truly is." Weeks passed. Alien warlords continued their raids, traitors mocked human outposts, and diplomats ignored Earth's warnings. Then one day, far from any world, A Zarn patrol ship vanished without a trace. Its last transmission was a scream followed by silence. The Galactic Council dismissed it as an accident, but in the shadows of deep space, something vast and unseen moved between the stars, and somewhere on Earth, beneath the waves, Leviathan 1 opened its glowing eyes. The ocean above trembled as power surged through the deep. Dr. Reed smiled and whispered, "Let them laugh while they can." Because soon, the galaxy would understand that humanity was never weak, only waiting. The galaxy kept laughing, and Earth kept silent. But silence has a weight. A storm hiding behind still air, far away from the bright centers of alien empires. The small human colony of Erebus 4 floated quietly around a red sun. Its people farmed, mined, and raised families, believing they were safe under the Galactic Peace Accord. But peace is only as strong as the respect behind it, and the aliens had no respect for Earth. One cold morning, the sky above Erebus 4 burned red. The Zarn Dominion fleet arrived, 30 warships strong. Cutting through the clouds like blades of fire, their commander, Admiral Trask, sent one message to the colony: surrender your resources or be erased. The humans tried to negotiate. They begged for talks, but the Zarn only laughed. Trask smiled, thinking it would be easy. "Let's see what these Earth creatures are made of," he said. Within hours, communication with Erebus 4 vanished. The galactic news channels reported the colony's surrender. Alien hosts mocked it, playing the footage of Trask's fleet hovering above human cities. "See?" They laughed. "Earth is only a shadow pretending to be strong." Across the stars, people forgot about Erebus 4 within days, but on Earth, something changed. In the dark command chamber beneath Black Ridge Base, alarms flashed red. Dr. Aisha Reed stood before the main screen as the report came in. Erebus 4 was gone, all civilians lost. The attackers confirmed to be Zarn Dominion ships. Captain Leon Hart slammed his fist against the wall. "They started it," he growled. Ambassador Ross entered silently, her voice low. "Then we'll finish it." The Council of Earth met in secret under the Arctic ice. Generals, scientists, and leaders gathered around a circular table. The room trembled as the words were spoken. "Authorize Genesis Protocol." No one protested, because everyone knew what it meant. Earth was done pretending far above the Pacific. 12 black submarines rose from the waves, their shapes alien even to human eyes. The water boiled around them as their armor split open, releasing the Leviathan fleet. Each ship was alive with moving light, humming like a heartbeat. They were not made of metal, but of smart alloy and nanite tissue, learning, evolving, feeling. Dr. Reed watched from the control hub, whispering, "Children of Earth, show them what it means to provoke your mother." The first strike came 3 days later, in the Zarn Dominion's border sector. Admiral Trask's fleet was celebrating its victory. They played back recordings of Erebus 4's destruction, boasting to every passing freighter. Then their sensors flickered, one by one. Their radar screens went black. Their gravity meters spun out of control. And then the stars disappeared. Something massive had entered the system. But it didn't emit any signal, any light, any sound. It was invisible until it moved. A shadow covered Trask's flagship, blocking out the sun itself. "Identify!" he shouted, but no one could. Then, from the darkness, a single blue pulse shot through space. Every Zarn ship it touched turned to dust. Trask screamed as his ship melted from the inside. The last image captured by his sensors was a glowing eye, cold, silver and human, and then everything went silent. The Galactic Council received the report 12 hours later. No wreckage, no survivors, only empty space. Their analysts said, "Impossible. No known weapon can erase mass so completely." But Ambassador Ross only said one thing. "You asked what humanity was made of, now you know." The galaxy trembled. News spread that an unknown force had destroyed an entire Dominion fleet. The Zarn accused the Terrans, demanding punishment. But when the Council requested evidence, none could be found. Because Leviathan 1 left nothing behind, still rumors began to swirl. Whispers of ghost ships from Earth, hunting in the dark. They called them the Phantoms of the Deep. Kareth, the old historian, wrote again in his journal. The laughter fades, replaced by fear. They thought humanity was small. But a cornered world grows fangs. Weeks later, in orbit above Mars, Captain Leon met Ambassador Ross in a dim hangar filled with new war machines. "Phase 2 is ready," he said. "The Leviathans await command." Ross nodded slowly. Then tell them to move silently. Hit only those who cross our line. Let the rest wonder." Leon smiled. "So we play ghosts?" She replied. "No, we remind the galaxy that monsters are born from underestimation." Far across the void, in the ruins of the Zarn Dominion's outer colonies, strange blue lights drifted through the skies. Miners spoke of hearing human whispers in their comms before losing contact. A single coded message appeared in alien networks before vanishing again. "Erebus 4 avenged. More to come." Dr. Reed stood in front of her console, the ocean trembling around the facility. She whispered into the intercom. "Leviathan 2, Leviathan 3, prepare for launch." And deep beneath the waves, the living warships opened their eyes. Glowing brighter than ever, the galaxy's laughter had ended. Now it was listening, terrified, because for the first time in history, humanity was no longer silent. It was speaking in the language of fire and vengeance. And this was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, the silence after the Zarn fleet's destruction was louder than any explosion. Every empire, every trading guild, every pirate lord whispered the same question. What did the humans do? The Galactic Council called emergency meetings, blaming solar storms, sabotage, and even gods. But deep down, everyone felt the same fear, that Earth had unleashed something far beyond their understanding. In the shadow of the moon, Earth's command satellites formed a glowing ring, pulsing with hidden signals below the Pacific. Black Ridge Base roared to life again. Dr. Aisha Reed stood in the observation chamber, her face glowing in the blue light of the ocean. Before her, 3 colossal shapes floated in darkness, breathing like living beasts. Each one carried a name burned into its hull. Leviathan 1, Leviathan 2, Leviathan 3 together. They were the heart of Project Genesis, humanity's secret creation. A voice echoed in the chamber. "Dr. Reed, Global Command request confirmation." She placed her hand on the glass and whispered, "Genesis is alive." Thousands of data streams lit up across Earth's defense network, connecting labs, orbital stations, and hidden bunkers. Every scientist, every engineer who had worked in silence for decades finally saw the result of their patience. Not machines, not ships, but living weapons, part flesh, part metal, part code. They could think, adapt, and fight without command, learning faster than any artificial mind ever built. Captain Leon Hart entered the control room, his uniform soaked with ocean mist. He looked up at the dark shapes beyond the glass. "Are they ready?" Dr. Reed smiled slightly. "They were ready before we were." He frowned. "Command wants to show strength but not start a full war," she replied. "Then tell them strength is already awake. War is just a matter of time." Meanwhile, in the galactic core, chaos spread like wildfire. The Zarn Dominion demanded vengeance. The Arkan Combine called for sanctions against Earth. And the Vorn Syndicate quietly began to move its fleets closer to human borders. Ambassador Elena Ross stood before the council once more, calm and silent as before. When accused of using forbidden weapons, she only said, "We protect our own," the alien warlords shouted. "You lie." But her eyes never blinked. "The truth," she said softly, "will arrive soon enough." That night, in orbit around Jupiter, something arrived, the Leviathan fleet. Cloaked in gravitational folds, emerged from hyperspace like shadows tearing through fabric. Each ship was larger than a city, its body covered in moving light. They didn't appear on radar, they didn't send signals. They just existed, silent and unseen. When they passed near alien probes, the machines melted without fire, leaving only drifting dust. The galaxy's smartest sensors couldn't explain it. All they could record was a faint pulse, a heartbeat across the void. In the Council's secret chambers, panic grew. If humanity truly had such ships, then no empire was safe. They sent spies, infiltrators, and drones to Earth, but none returned. The last drone transmitted an image before vanishing, a single word glowing deep in the ocean. Genesis back on Earth, Dr. Reed and Captain Leon watched as the Leviathans synchronized their cores. A deep hum filled the base, vibrating through the water. Shaking the glass, Leon whispered, "It feels alive." Reed nodded. "It is, and it remembers." The Leviathans were not just programmed. They were imprinted with human memory patterns. Soldiers, thinkers, explorers, every emotion humanity ever felt, embedded within them. That was the secret. They were humanity's reflection, rage and mercy, creation and destruction. And now they were awake, far across space, The Zarn Dominion's homeworld glowed red under its twin suns. Millions watched their skies as hundreds of bright streaks appeared suddenly, falling stars. Except they weren't stars. They were Leviathan drones, fragments of the living ships, spreading through the atmosphere like silver rain. Within minutes, the Dominion's defense satellites went blind. Their power grids failed. Their communications died, then came the voice, echoing across all channels. "This is Earth. We told you not to touch what's ours." The transmission ended with one command. "Remember Erebus?" In seconds, the capital of the Dominion vanished in a blue flash that lit up half the sector. The destruction was clean, silent, and absolute. No debris, no radiation, no bodies. Only the reflection of the blast on the nearby moons remained. When the Galactic Council saw the footage, they fell into stunned silence. One alien whispered, "This is not war. This is judgment, back on Earth." The celebration was quiet. No cheering, no boasting. Only a deep sadness in the eyes of those who had built Genesis. Dr. Reed stood alone, staring at the calm sea above. "They made us monsters," she said softly. Captain Leon replied, "No. They reminded us we could be." Ambassador Ross sent one final message to the galaxy, her face calm, her voice clear. "Earth never wanted war, but we do not run from it. We held back because we believed in peace. But peace is not silence, it is balance. Cross that line again, and we will show you what balance means." The message spread faster than light. Every world heard it, every ruler felt it, and in that moment, the galaxy realized something it had forgotten for centuries. Humans may be young, but they were dangerous beyond measure. Not because of their weapons, but because of their will. And as the stars flickered across the dark sea of space, the Leviathans drifted silently above Earth. Guardians, monsters, and children of the same creation. The true face of humanity, and Project Genesis had only just begun. The galaxy was no longer laughing. Now it was trembling, across every star system. News of the Zarn Dominion's destruction spread like wildfire. Worlds that once mocked humanity were silent, their leaders whispering in fear. No one knew what the humans had unleashed, only that entire fleets had vanished without trace. They called it the Blue Light, the final flash before oblivion. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, chaos reigned. Ambassadors shouted, soldiers argued, and the Supreme Chancellor demanded answers. "How can one world challenge an entire galaxy?" He roared. No one replied, because no one understood. In the corner, the old historian Kareth whispered to himself, "It is not power that destroys empires, it is pride." Meanwhile, on Earth, deep beneath the Arctic ice, the War Council gathered. Holograms of alien fleets filled the room, hundreds of armadas now mobilizing near human borders. Captain Leon Hart stood before them, his voice calm but cold. "They want to erase us before we rise further," he said. Ambassador Eleanor Ross nodded. "Then we stop holding back." And with those words, humanity crossed the final line, the command was given, and Project Genesis went to full war mode. From the depths of Earth's oceans, from under the sands of Mars, from within the rings of Saturn, the Leviathans awakened, hundreds of living warships. Their hulls glowing with blue veins of light rose from hidden docks. The ocean itself trembled as they broke through the surface. Lightning crackling across the sky, each ship whispered through encrypted channels. Speaking in the soft tone of a human voice, "We are awake." "Mother, we are ready." Dr. Aisha Reed watched from the control hub, tears in her eyes. "Go, my children. Protect the home that built you." The Leviathans turned toward the stars and vanished into the void, faster than light, leaving behind ripples that shook the magnetic field of Earth itself. Hours later, at the edge of human space, the first alien armadas arrived. Thousands of ships from 10 different species, the Vorn, the Zarn, the Arkan, and more. They came to finish what they started. To erase the upstart species from the stars, their leaders boasted, "We will turn Earth into dust before their sunrise." But then, the stars blinked, and the sky opened. The Leviathan fleet descended like a storm, silent and invisible at first. Then the darkness erupted in light, blue, white, and gold, as energy pulses cut through the alien fleets. Human warships didn't fire missiles or lasers, they bent space itself, turning enemy projectiles back toward their own ships. Alien admirals screamed as their own weapons tore their fleets apart. The humans didn't speak, they didn't broadcast threats. Only one message echoed across all channels. You should have listened. Within minutes, entire sectors turned silent. The Vorn Armada tried to flee into hyperspace, but the Leviathans folded gravity around them, freezing them mid-jump. They hung in space like frozen statues before disintegrating into dust. For the first time in galactic history, war had no noise, only light and silence. Back on Earth, the control room watched the data streams with grim faces. Dr. Reed turned to Captain Leon. "They don't even have a chance," he replied softly. "We warned them." She looked down. "Yes, but I wish they had listened." On the galactic core world, panic spread. Civilizations that once ruled the stars now hid behind planetary shields. Their leaders begged the Council for peace talks. But it was too late. Humanity's retribution had already begun. The Leviathans did not conquer worlds, they only erased military power. Leaving cities untouched, Earth wanted no slaves. No trophies, only silence, Kareth wrote again in his journal. The galaxy burns not from greed, but from arrogance. Humanity rises not as conquerors, but as reminders. He looked out of the window and saw the blue flash of another distant world falling quiet. He whispered, "This is not war, this is balance." 3 weeks later, the Galactic Council surrendered. A message was sent to Earth, a plea for ceasefire. Ambassador Ross appeared before the holographic assembly, her face calm as ever. "Earth accepts peace," she said, "but remember, we will never bow again." The alien leaders nodded, too afraid to speak. The war ended not with treaties or signatures, but with silence. Every empire withdrew its fleets. Every weapon was lowered, and across the stars, humanity became a legend. Children whispered of the blue light, of the world that waited, of the people who held back until pushed too far. Back in the Pacific depths, Dr. Reed stood beside the glass wall once more. The Leviathans floated silently beyond it. Resting after the storm, Leon joined her, his uniform torn and wet. "They're peaceful again," he said. She nodded. "Because peace is all we ever wanted." He smiled faintly. "Until someone takes it from us, above them." The ocean reflected the light of the moon, calm and pure. But beneath it slept the greatest power the galaxy had ever known. Not a weapon, but a warning. That even the smallest world can shake the heavens if pushed too far. And somewhere in the distance, a young human child looked up at the night sky and whispered, "Let them laugh again, we'll be waiting." The war was over. But the echoes of it still haunted the stars. For the first time in thousands of years, no fleets moved, no wars raged, no empires spoke. The galaxy had fallen silent, not by choice but by fear. Every race remembered the light, that cold blue glow that erased entire worlds without sound. The name Earth was now spoken like a prayer, or a warning, depending on who you asked. On Earth itself, the skies were peaceful again. The oceans calm, the cities bright. Children played under starlight without knowing how close the world had come to ending. But beneath the beauty, humanity watched carefully, always ready. The Leviathans floated in the dark between planets, silent guardians of a fragile peace. In the Pacific base, Dr. Aisha Reed stood in front of the great glass wall one last time. Beyond it, the living warships rested in the deep, their lights dim and slow. She spoke softly, "They're sleeping now." As they should. Captain Leon Hart walked in, his uniform dark with salt and time. "They'll wake again, if we ever need them," he said. She nodded slowly. "Let's hope we never do." Ambassador Elena Ross stood before the Galactic Council once more. But this time, there was no shouting, no laughter, no arrogance. Every alien delegate sat in respectful silence as she entered. Her words were calm and steady. "Humanity asks for no tribute. No slaves, no rule," she said. "We ask only this, never again." No one dared to argue, no one dared to mock, because every world had seen what happened to those who did. Kareth, the old historian, watched from the gallery, his eyes filled with sorrow and awe. He wrote his final entry into the Galactic Chronicle. The age of laughter is over, the age of balance begins. Humanity did not conquer the galaxy. They reminded it what survival means. He closed the book and looked toward the blue world shining across the void. And for the first time in his long life, he felt peace in orbit above Mars. The last of the Leviathan fleet floated silently, their hulls reflecting sunlight like living stars. They no longer hunted, they no longer fought, they simply watched. From time to time, their sensors caught signals, alien distress calls, Pirate raids, small skirmishes, and they intervened quietly. No one ever saw them, only the aftermath, destruction without explanation, justice without sound. They became a myth, the unseen guardians. The children of Genesis. Years passed, the Galactic Council rebuilt its order. But things were different now. Humans sat at the central seat. Not as rulers, but as equal partners. Trade flourished, peace spread, and the once arrogant empires now sent students to learn from Earth. How to rebuild, how to forgive, how to wait. Because if humanity had proven one thing, it was patience. On a quiet night, under the calm stars of New Geneva, Captain Leon Hart walked through a memorial garden. Names of the lost glowed softly in silver letters. Soldiers, scientists, civilians, all who had fallen. He stopped before one name, Erebus 4. He placed his hand over it and whispered, "We didn't forget." Then he looked up at the sky, where faint blue lights shimmered in the distance. "They're still out there," he said. Dr. Reed, now older and slower, joined him. "They always will be, somewhere far beyond the mapped systems." A forgotten probe drifted through empty space. Its sensors flickered, recording a strange pulse. A single symbol appeared on its display before the power died, the Genesis emblem. It sent that data back to the nearest relay before burning out. And when scientists received it weeks later, they stared in awe. The Leviathans were not idle. They were exploring, building, spreading silently across the galaxy's edges. Not for conquest, but for protection. Ambassador Ross stood on the balcony of Earth's new Unity Tower. Watching the sunrise, a breeze touched her hair as she whispered, "We held back once and they laughed. We unleashed everything and they listened. Now we hold the line between fear and peace." She looked at the horizon, where the sea met the sky, and that line is called humanity. The old historian Kareth passed away not long after. His final words were recorded in the archives of 1,000 worlds. In the end, the galaxy did not fear Earth's power. It feared Earth's mercy. The camera of time fades slowly to the stars, the galaxies shimmer, and among them, blue light glows softly like a heartbeat. The universe remembers the world that waited, the people who endured, and the silence that followed their final warning. Because when Earth finally spoke, the stars themselves listened.